Hey everybody, this is Inara Ariane Griffin, and I'm in Bali in an incredibly beautiful space. As you can see, the gardens, the lushness. I came here for a deep, deep rest. The last 18 months have been super intense for me, and one of the issues was for me not being able to get a mortgage. And so I had to try again. And that meant, in terms of my activity versus who I really am, I'm a visionary. And when my energy is focused down in on tiny details all the time for 18 months, it burns out kind of circuits for me. I'm not flowing in the way that my current wishes to go. And so I came here for a rest, and then what I tap into is what is the conversation that wants to bubble up and rise to the surface. And the topic is secrets. I started thinking about the autumn work that I'm going to be doing with people on the 11 Kings and the 11 Queens descending, which is the shadow work. Autumn is the perfect time for shadow work. It has a natural fit because we step into the darkness. But there's also been, for us, there's been this full moon in Aquarius, which is all around information going out into the world, and it can be super positive when you actually tap into it yourself and start sending out information to the world. That got me thinking about the shadow work of sending out. Well, what are the things that you hold back on? What are the things that you don't want people to know about you? And there is a freedom in expressing the whole of who you are. Everything that you are. Every last bit of your family history. I've been speaking to somebody recently, somebody who is a recent introduction of a client. And one of the things she said first off was she had a very poor education. And when you think strangers meeting, what is the thing that you're talking about? Well, obviously the impact of that was so great that it impacts the way she feels she's being seen, and it was an honest, straight up conversation that she feels surrounded in a world, probably quite a masculine world, in the world that she lives in and works in, and that this piece about having a poor education, or somehow it was a bad education. Well, to me, I have no judgment on that because she's doing what she's doing. But for her, that little secret, that piece of loss of power, not feeling empowered about really who you are and where you come from. I relate to that particular one about the bad education, not from my standpoint, but from my parents' standpoint, because they came from not a lot of money, and both were academics, and they used their brains to get out of poverty and to shift the order of their life, or the way that it would have gone if they hadn't have done something dramatic and used their brains. But my mum still has this thing, when she's northern and she has an accent, and she still has shame that comes up around where she comes from. And even though she's a doctor and, she's had an amazing career, and it's like it still comes up as something which is it's a loss of power. And that's what I'm interested in. Where do you experience loss of power? So when we talk about secrets can be literally like your dirty secrets, or they can be nothing dirty at all. They're just to do with how you experience shame, not being good enough, being too much. And the secrets that you keep are exactly the potent power portal that we can get into to make you shine in mastery. Mastery is taking on every single aspect of you. When you step into mastery, there's no going back. It's like a sacred oath, a sacred pact to yourself that you're saying, I vow that from this point on, I'm ready to take on that much of my life, all of it. And when you make that vow, it's not like you can go back and go, oops, sorry, excuse me, I didn't mean that. I really just meant like everything except that bit. Everything except the bit that makes me cringe when I think about it. Everything that makes me shut down when I know somebody else, say, has a better education. That's just one example of what people deal with. Oh, I'm seeing a little butterfly all the way here. There's lots of butterflies here. Where have you gone? Transformation is in the air. So secrets, have a think. Are there things that you hide around other people? There may be things as dramatic as you've been a drug addict, you've been a sex addict, you've been an addict, you've been a gambler. All of those things that we have direct experience of shame over, it may be the silliest thing to other people, but because you were put down for something when you were really young, it's caused a trigger mechanism for you. And what I would say about these things is they're stored until there's a moment in your pathway to mastery that all of a sudden it will not be a big thing that will bring you down. It'll be like somebody's just about to do a public speaking gig, for instance, and they're stepping into their visibility and they're shining out. And all of a sudden, somebody will say, oh, you didn't come from that place, did you? As on the way up to the podium where they're going to give a talk. And suddenly they're gripped with this, oh my God, people actually know I came from there. I came from a poor background, or I came from, circumstances that I have had to deal with shame about. And in that moment, they lose their voice. They lose their power. They can't speak with authority. They can't speak with credibility. So the work that I'm working up to right now is, and I'm being inspired, like what drops into my spaciousness here, this beautiful place of spaciousness, are conversations that I know we're going to delve deep into in the autumn, in the Shadow Kings and Queens, so that we can make you, and I can help you step up to your biggest, boldest, most profound quantum leaps. And the name of the program is 11 Queens, 11 Kings Descending. You can find information about it. Currently, as I've said before, it's at 1,111 for a 3-month course, moving all the way down from autumn equinox to the winter solstice. But on September 6th, it's going up to 3,330. There's a kind of summer enticement, I would call it, going on right now. It really is pitched more at 3,330. That's an accurate representation of it. So I invite you, if you are feeling those moments where you just feel that little bit of withhold, that little bit of, I didn't go for it. I missed that opportunity. What was that moment where I didn't speak up? That's the stuff we're going to be delving into to make you absolutely great and a master. Namaste, so much love.